Hi, and welcome to the University of Laverne, My Degree Tracker Overview for sophomore criminology students. Through this video, I hope to give you a better understanding of your degree tracker and help you so that you know which classes to choose for the upcoming semester. First and foremost, you need to know how to get to your degree tracker. So let's start there. So you go to your portal and in the black box under quick links, you look down until you see where it says My Degree Tracker and click on it. When you click on it, the next page that comes up will be the three boxes and you want to choose the one that says My Degree Tracker, click here. When you click there, your personal degree tracker will come up. This is your walk to graduation and something that you want to understand really well. So in this first section or block between these thick green lines, a lot of good information in here. The part that I want to talk about is your major is obviously sociology. That's why you're watching this, but you have the option for a concentration. And as long as it doesn't add on time degree, which it doesn't, and it's part of the degree, which it is, you may as well choose one. So let me show you what they are. This paper in front of us, this checklist, I also emailed you with this video so that you can look at it more easily. I know it's a little hard to see on the screen. So the first part of it, all sociology majors, even if you choose not to go into a concentration, everybody has to finish that. And here's where your choices come in. I like that you can design this more for you and what you're interested in. So you could just say, you know what, I don't want to be in a concentration, I'm going to be general, and then, just start taking courses. You need 28 units from the classes within this box. But as I said, even though when you graduate, it'll say major in sociology, bachelor's of science in sociology, you may as well have the concentration that then you can put on your resume. So the way it works is this: no matter which route you go, you will need 12 units or credit hours from a combination of any of the classes below. But then let's say you like social justice, you're interested in that area, then you'll need 16 units, which is probably 4 classes because most of them are 4 credits each, but keep an eye on that, from this area. Or you might want applied statistics, then it would be 16 units from this area, or crime, law, and society, then you would take them from this area. Once you know which concentration you would like to have, you can go to laverne.edu, go to the registrar's part of the website, and that's where you'll find forms. And in the form, you'll see major minor change form, and that's where you can add your concentration. So I highly recommend you do that because then it'll populate on your degree tracker. Let's go back to your degree tracker. So not only will it say the concentration here, but it'll also show the classes that you need, that you have the concentration down toward the bottom of your degree tracker. Then there's minor. Even with a concentration, because it does not add on time to degree, you need to take those classes no matter what. You will still have room for a minor because you're going to have in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 credits that you can use toward an area of interest. So maybe you're interested in psychology, for example, then you could make that your minor. It'll show on here and then it'll populate at the bottom of your degree. So whichever minor is interesting to you, you can decide, and then you can add that using the form that I told you about. Your campus is a main campus, so you want to keep an eye on that when you're adding classes so that you know that you're actually picking classes for the main campus, unless you have a real reason and a desire to take something else. All right, so let's look down here in the next block. Across this thick green line, it says 128 semester hours. You cannot graduate with 127, you need 128. You can have more if you want, but you want to try to stay as close to 128 as possible. And then it'll show the hours applied. That includes the classes that you're in right now. Your turn for registration does not include your semester hours that are applied, only completed. So if there's a difference between what you have applied and when you're registering, that's why, just so you know, it really is fair because everybody's the same way. It's all what's completed, now it's applied. Okay, then looking down this list, the one that I like to point out the most is, although they all are necessary and they all to be completed, minimum 44 semester hours in upper division coursework. I want to point that out because if you have approved classes that you've taken someplace else and brought into Laverne, chances are really high that they were 3 credits and not 4 credits. We don't decide that at Laverne. That's decided by the institution that you took it at. So if it comes in as 3 credits, you could end up being a little short in the upper division coursework. And remember that if you want any courses to count in your major, not only does it have to be approved by the University of Laverne, but then it also has to be approved by the chair of the department. So just a little side note on that. So everything in this first area, bird's eye view, needs to be covered. Then we're going to look at the Laverne experience. Let's go down one by one. Community engagement, your internship, when you take that, that'll count for your major. It'll also count as your community engagement. University values, if you were to click on this, there isn't one for sociology specifically. So the recommended would be LVE 200. And you can just click on that and up it comes, and then you can look through and there it is, LVE 200. So something you can do on your own. These are nice live degree audits, very accurate. They're updated every night. A lot of great information and how you want to get to graduation. So it's very important. Okay, your university reflection. That, however, is probably going to be covered by a different class that you take in your major. And how will you know that? You'll click on the LVUR and you'll look for a SOCH class and see if that's one of the classes that you need in your sociology degree. Then it'll count in your major and it'll also count in your Laverne experience. All right, next are your gen eds. So if for any reason you do not have your LVWA, that's Laverne Writing A, and your LVWB, Laverne Writing B completed, you need to complete that. If it's because you brought in credit and it's not showing, then you need to deal with that right away. If it's because you didn't pass a class and you need to retake it right away, or whatever the reason is, because those are prereqs for the majority of the classes that you're going to take in your major, so they need to be completed. All right, then you have oral communication, LVOC, and like everything else, you can click on the attribute and the classes will populate so you can see what they are. The next one is quantitative reasoning, one class with attribute LVQR. And if we go down just a little bit, under prerequisites, quantitative analysis is SOCH 305. That's math. And so what we want to do is click on that. And there it is, quantitative analysis. And here's the cool part. See the attribute? LVQR, Laverne Quantitative Reasoning. That means that when you take this quantitative analysis class, it's going to count in your prereq for your sociology, and it's also going to count in your general education area. So hopefully that's really good news for you, because other than if you were told you need Math 102, then you should have already taken it. And other than that, this is the only other math that you'll need for your sociology degree. So when you take it for your prereq, it'll also count up here in your quantitative reasoning. We call that a double dip. You're allowed 2 double dips between your gen eds and your major classes. So that's 1. All right, moving forward, you need a 2-credit class for lifelong wellness. If you find one for 4 credits and you're interested and it has the LVLW attribute on it, you certainly can do that. And then you will have to complete 2 classes in humanities, 2 social sciences, and let me pause on social science. You may not realize this, but sociology is a social science. Now you probably hear it and you're like, oh yeah. So that means that one of your other social classes, if it carries the attribute, will count in this area. And for most students, that'll be Introduction to Sociology. And when you click on it, you'll see the attribute is LVSS. These other attributes are for different catalog years and what have you. So LVSS. And so when you take SOCH 250, it'll count as your prereq, and it'll also count as one of your 2 social science classes. Then you have physical science and life science. And when you click on those, like the life science, you'll see that the lowest one on here is Bio 101. Unless you're doing something else with your degree, like you're trying to go to med school or something, Bio 101 and the lab that you have to also take, it's a separate class, but you also have to take it, that will work for this area. There's no reason to try to go to a higher bio, unnecessary. So you just want to get the highest grade you can and move forward. Your physical science, be careful. There's a lot of choices. A lot of them carry prerequisites. How would you know that? You're going to click on the LVPS. Here it comes. And then if there's prerequisites, for example, for Chem 201, then no need to do that. There's also some classes that look like, oh, that might be interesting. Make sure you read the catalog information, check the prereqs before you jump into a class, because you want to make sure you're prepared to take it and really do well. You want to try to get as many A's and B's as you can. As I told you many times, C's don't really help you a whole lot in college, and the whole idea is to open as many doors as you can. So moving forward, that's your science area, and you just need 1 of each type. one life science and one physical science, each attribute type that is. Then creative expression, you only need 2 credits to complete this area. However, if you find a 4-credit class, by all means, if that's something you think you could do well, take it because you're trying to reach that 128 goal. All right, next area, foreign language. So there's really 3 ways this can be resolved. One, you may be very proficient in another language. If you are, take the placement test. Perhaps you'll test above it. If you don't test above it, maybe at least you'll test into this very area, the 101 area. Or if you're really weak, like you haven't taken a lot of foreign language, or you did, but you know it wasn't your strength and whatnot, then you might want to take the lowest level, which is 100, and then the level that fits this area, the 101. So then you might say, well, what happens to the lowest class that I took? That still counts towards your degree because it's still college credit. So that would be considered an elective because it wouldn't fit someplace else on this degree. So then you'd have the 4-credit elective at the 100 level, and then the class that fills this area, the 101. Okay, so moving forward, we've already talked about the prereqs. We're going to the major now. So in the major area, it's really broken into 2 separate areas. This top grouping right here are the classes that you'll take your junior and senior year. Ooh, that reminds me, back up to the prereqs, something I didn't mention. Quantitative analysis is to be taken your junior year. Here's the thing, I'll send another video out, you may already have received it, for a student education plan. And that's really important because a class such as this, you're supposed to take your junior year, but if you're gonna graduate a year early, then you're gonna need to take that early and you need to know when to take it because it's a prerequisite for, and it will help you in classes moving forward. And so therefore you want to make sure that you take that at the right time for you, perhaps as a junior, but if you're graduating early, maybe a little earlier. Okay, back down here. All right, so the bottom part down here, your breadth requirement and your sociology electives, and I showed you where those come from. The sociology electives from that checklist, the orange paper, those are classes that you'll need, and then your elective concentration. So once you fill out the form that I told you about, you can fill out whatever the concentration is, and then it'll populate on your degree tracker, which will help you keep track of it. And so that's very important. All right, back up to the top, your core requirements. Your junior year, you'll also take research methods, and then your junior or senior year, you'll do sociological theory and your internship. And then there's one other area, your senior capstone. And you'll talk to your faculty advisor your junior year about what you'd like to do for your senior capstone because you have 2 choices. One is to take 499A and B, that's senior thesis A and B, 2 separate classes over 2 separate semesters. And if you're really headed toward higher education, maybe you want to get your master's or your doctorate, then you'd really want to lean towards senior thesis A because it teaches you the type of paper that you'd have to do at the higher level of education. It teaches you how to write it, how to formulate it, all the different things you need. But if you know for sure, you know what, when I'm done, I'm done, I'm not going up higher to a different level, then you might want to go with research intensive courses. Even if you're going to a higher level, you could take 2 classes in research intensive. It just doesn't prepare you in exactly the same way as the senior thesis. One's not better than the other, it's what suits your needs. Let's revisit the classes down here. I mentioned them briefly and I mentioned them again. So going into next year, you would want to try to take a breadth requirement, unless you already have. That's 1 class in one of those areas. Your sociology electives, 3 classes, as I showed you on the screen sheet. Sociology electives comes from something down here, and your social concentration. You need 4 classes from one of these 3 areas. So that sums up the sociology part of your degree. If you have chosen a minor, that'll already be on there. If you haven't chosen it yet, fill out the form that you find in the laverne.edu and then registrar, and then you'll see major minor change form, and that's where you can add on your concentration and your minor, which I highly recommend because you will have room for it. All right, and your elective classes will show down here in another area if they're not already showing. So that's your overview of your sociology degree. I hope that answers some questions. And from it, you're able to make quality decisions about which classes you should take next semester. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Have a great day.